Welcome back! We are still looking around the museum, but on the bright side we have cracked the case of the Dagger of Amon Ra. Wait, that's not actually a bright side. There is a left side to this room, where there are more Egyptian artifacts. Are these models of the pyramids?
The stepped pyramid of Gofhotep, built during the 4th dynasty and located near Okerstia, the ancient Egyptian capital on the Nile River. Known for his strange ideas, the pharaoh Gofhotep had this pyramid built in such a way that it was honeycombed with rooms that could be rented out to travelers, thereby paying for the awesome costs of its construction. Popular as a resort destination, the Gofhotep Pyramid Hotel was renowned for its revitalizing qualities. The hotel's public relations department promoted the energizing powers of the pyramid shape, emphasizing the way cosmic forces were channeled through every room in the hotel. An ancient hotel brochure, printed on a sturdy piece of papyrus, declares that an overnight stay at the Gofhotep Pyramid can bring the dead back to life, which helps to explain the numerous mummies found in the pyramid by modern archaeologists. While the Gofhotep Pyramid Hotel was an interesting experiment, it never recouped the massive costs of its construction. While it was moderately popular among the tourist trade, sophisticated travelers preferred rooms with windows, which the Gofhotep did not have.
I reiterate that somebody had way too much fun writing all of these descriptions. And yeah, now you're just making stuff up, game. Also, Okerstia, nice reference to Sierra's offices, which were in Oakhurst, California.
A model of the stepped pyramid of Saqqara, believed to be the oldest Egyptian pyramid. Construction of this pyramid was decreed by the pharaoh Zoser of the 3rd dynasty and built by the architect Imhotep, who is probably the most important builder in Egyptian history. Originally, the structure was a simple mastaba of coarse rubble, cased with white limestone above a square pit, but was later heightened into a stepped pyramid with 6 levels.
Wait, Imhotep? Isn't that the bad guy in the Mummy? The original, not the Tom Cruise one. Although he might be also the bad guy in the Tom Cruise one. I have not actually seen that one. Anyway, now I don't even know anymore if any of this is true. I mean, that sounds like it could be true. And that one obviously wasn't, but I'm hoping that the fake details are the obvious ones, and that the rest at least has some semblance of actual research. Another column over here, which apparently we have to walk to what?
A minor column from the Temple of Amon Ra, one of the few not decorated in gold.
Would have been a lot harder to move if it was decorated in gold. What's over here? Let's read the sign with it.
This placard describes the full translated text on the Rosetta Stone, which still resides in the British Museum. In summary, the text records the decree made at Canopus by the priesthood in honor of the pharaoh Ptolemy III, Euergetes I, who reigned from 247 to 222 BC. The decree discusses the great benefits which the pharaoh had conferred on Egypt and states what festivals are to be celebrated in his honor, concluding with orders that a copy of the decree in hieroglyphics, Demotic and Greek shall be placed in every large temple in Egypt.
Yes, the Rosetta Stone, famous real-life archaeological object that, because it contained the same text in those 3 languages, was instrumental in helping Egyptologists decipher hieroglyphics. I know that part's true.
You're in the Ancient Egypt exhibit at the Leyendecker Museum.
Indeed we are, and I guess this must be that famed Rosetta Stone.
The card identifies the slab of black basalt as the Rosetta Stone. Hieroglyphs and letters from the English alphabet are clearly engraved on the stone. The Rosetta Stone was found by a French artillery officer among the ruins of Fort Saint-Julien near the Rosetta mouth of the Nile River in 1799. It came into the possession of the British government after the capitulation of Alexandria. The Rosetta Stone, currently on loan to the Leyendecker Museum, is the key to modern translations of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs into English text. You notice that half of the Rosetta Stone seems to be missing from the display, replaced by a small card that reads, Artifact 310 removed from display for research on 9/1/26 by O.M.
Olympia Miklos, I am quite convinced, is what that means. And it said that the stone contains hieroglyphs and English letters, which is not how it worked at all. It's not how hieroglyphics work. But, however, we can inspect it with our magnifying glass. And that gives us this nice view, which doesn't really serve that much purpose, but doing that now has actually added hieroglyphs to our notebook with an English letter equivalent, which again is not how they worked, but it's a game, so we'll go with it. But we only have half the alphabet, so presumably we have to find the other half of the Rosetta Stone to get the rest. I don't think it's possible to actually ask people about individual hieroglyphs. You can't ask them about hieroglyphs in general now. And yeah, if stuff gets added to the miss category, which I believe it will at some point, it will just get added underneath the hieroglyphs, so you have to browse all the way to the back to get at it later, which is kind of annoying. Speaking of magnifying glasses,
the Gof Hotep Pyramid Hotel is made of rough limestone. A tiny sign reads, Budget rates, an ankh on every sleeping mat, free cosmic forces in every room, approved by the Amon Ra Travel Association.
They just couldn't stop with that joke, could they?
The column is made from limestone, possibly from the quarries at Aswan, Egypt, according to the small descriptive card at the base of the column. With a nice touch of authenticity, the model was built of limestone.
That's good, I guess.
To maintain a sense of realism, the watermark says that this Rosetta Stone text was printed on papyrus, the equivalent of the paper of ancient Egypt. Apparently it was cheaper than printing the translation on a piece of black basalt.
That I can believe. There are some sarcophagi over here.
A mummy coffin built during the 19th dynasty. Inside and outside, both coffin and cover are decorated with large figures of gods, vignettes, and inscriptions from the Book of the Dead, as well as emblems and decorations painted in bright colors.
Indeed, all in preparation for their journey through the underworld, I believe.
A close look reveals brightly painted scenes of the deceased playing a board game with Amon Ra, water skiing with the goddess Sekhmet, and drinking at a tavern with Thoth, the god of wisdom. In essence, these painted scenes served the purpose of candid family photos, even though they never actually happened. Armed with these snapshots, the deceased could try and con his way safely through the underworld to meet the gods themselves. Usually the gods had good memories and would never remember meeting the deceased, whose soul would then die of embarrassment.
Sounds likely.
An outer mummy coffin, whose cartouches identify the occupant as Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh, daughter of Thothmes I. The inner coffin is located to the right of this one.
That has to be that one then? Does it look like they would fit? Close enough, I guess.
The exterior of this coffin is gilded, and inlaid with lapis lazuli in a pleasing aesthetic pattern.
Isn't that lapis lazuli? Or am I just crazy? It's entirely possible. I pronounce lots of things wrong, so... Anyway, how about this one?
An inner mummy coffin which was contained in the exterior mummy coffin to the left. Identified from the cartouches on both coffins, the occupant was probably Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh, daughter of Thothmes I. Hatshepsut built the magnificent tomb temple at Deir el-Bahri and ruled for 20 years with her lover Senmut. At her death, Hatshepsut's successor tried to erase all memory of her by destroying her statues and obliterating her name from her various monuments.
That's not very nice of him. There's some stuff on the floor here by this coffin.
Looks can be deceiving. Ironically, there's a gold Ankh medallion, the ancient Egyptian symbol of life, resting in the pool of blood.
There's a pool of blood? I think that's a little bit more important than, you know, the medallion.
An inner mummy coffin, Hatshepsut.
It's apparently very hard to actually look at the...
Ironically. Looks.
Okay, well, that's not working out for me. We can look at the Ankh, though.
A close look reveals the initials PS inscribed in the back of the bloody Ankh.
That's, Dr. Smith, isn't it? That's his initials. Not gonna try and pronounce his first name because I'll probably just do it wrong. Interesting.
Ironically, there's a gold Ankh medallion.
Well, although it's probably not the greatest of ideas considering it's laying in a pool of blood, we can still take this with us.
You pick it up and place it in your purse.
And now we can a little bit more clearly see what was underneath it. That actually kind of looks like a footprint.
Looks. You're in the Looks.
Do I have to do this? Yes, okay.
There's a narrow red footprint from a woman's high-heeled shoe on the floor.
A high-heeled shoe. Interesting. There's only a few women here. Most notably us. And Yvette and the Countess. I don't remember which of those were wearing high heels. I would assume at least Yvette.
There's a narrow red footprint from a woman's high-heeled shoe on the floor. Apparently the shoe's owner stepped in some of the blood. It apparently belongs to a dainty foot.
That would definitely seem to suggest Yvette then, because I don't think there's anything about the Countess that I would describe as dainty. Okay, other question. Where's his blood coming from?
The mummy coffin is made of gilded wood painted with bright, colourful scenes from Hatshepsut's life.
True, but there also seems to be some blood at the base of it, so that seems to be the source of this blood. Of course, we don't know if this shoe imprint has anything to do with the blood, or if Yvette or whoever just happened to walk past here after blood started leaking out of the sarcophagus. Anyway, let's see if we can figure out where that is coming from. Don't expect mummies to still be bleeding. It's Dr. Carter! And he has been stabbed with the Dagger of Amon Ra. That's ironic, I guess.
Dr. Carter's flesh is looking rather pale, as if he's not feeling well. Perhaps it's because he's lost a lot of blood.
Indeed. Well, we found a body, and, well, you know what that means in this kind of game. We have to investigate it.
Looks. Look.
Can't look at the coffin anymore. I wonder who could have done this. Well, we have two pieces of evidence so far. We have the footstep, which could belong to Yvette, and we have that ankh. Come to think of it, didn't we see Dr. Smith wearing an ankh earlier? I believe we did. And since his initials are on it, odds are good that that's his ankh. However, let's first thoroughly investigate this corpse here to see if we can find anything else.
Dr. Carter's flesh is looking...
And that means a lot of looking at stuff with both your eyes and the magnifying glass.
There are no signs of scratches or bruises on his flesh. This could mean that the murderer, assuming this wasn't a suicide, knew Dr. Carter well enough to get close and stab him without arousing any suspicion. Or it could just mean that Dr. Carter was completely taken by surprise when someone assaulted him from the shadows.
Yeah, somehow I don't think this is a suicide. I don't think you would have that look of surprise on your face. Unless you killed yourself by surprise.
His flesh feels cold and clammy. There was silence.
Okay, we don't get a specific message for trying to talk to the dead guy.
Perhaps for the first time in his life, Dr. Carter's hair is in disarray.
And I'm sure he would be dismayed to learn about it.
It feels greasy to the touch.
That's probably just his product.
His hair is a bit greasy, as if he hasn't washed it today.
Also possible.
It has a slight smell of cigarette smoke, which is probably from the party.
That doesn't really tell us much.
Pippin has a glazed expression in his right eye, staring off into eternity. At least he faced his death with his eyes open.
At least he did, I guess. Can we close his eyes?
You poke Pippin's right eye. A tear trickles down his cheek.
Nope, we can just poke him in the eye.
His flesh... There are no signs of scratches or bruises or...
Trying to look at his
His
eye.
right eye is somewhat bloodshot, as if he's been working long hours recently in preparing the ancient Egypt exhibit for public display.
Which he probably was.
From the look in his eye, it appears that Dr. Carter was surprised to find a dagger being inserted in his chest.
Which he would be.
You poke him in the eye. His eyeball feels... squishy.
Good to know.
The pupil is very small, which is either a reaction to bright light or to a sudden shock of some kind.
Could be either, I suppose.
Dr. Carter's mustache is neatly trimmed. His mustache feels stiff. Although there are a couple of breadcrumbs caught in his mustache, they don't seem to be significant as evidence, particularly since you saw him eating bread at the party.
Indeed, doesn't really tell us much. Anything in his mouth?
His mouth is gaping wide, showing you some fine dental work. This was a man who took pride in the appearance of his teeth.
Good to know.
His mouth and tongue feel dry. No cavities in his teeth. The tongue is arched as if to say, You're not sure if the gaping mouth means he was trying to scream or that rigor mortis is setting in, stretching his face muscles. However, he has only been here a short time. Pippin isn't breathing, but you detect the smell of garlic on his breath. It isn't a pleasant smell.
But again, not something that really indicates much of importance.
Pippin's ear is unharmed.
Well, that's the only part of him, I guess.
His ear feels cold. A close look reveals that Pippin kept his ears very clean.
Well, that was more than I wanted to know.
There's a slight bulge in Pippin's jacket, as if he's carrying something in an inside pocket.
Oh, now that could be interesting.
When you reach into Pippin's tuxedo jacket, you find a notepad in his inner pocket.
Aha!
A notepad made of good quality paper. There's an imprint on the paper from the previous message written on the pad, but it's too faint to read.
Okay, we'll have to find a way to reveal that, possibly.
Unreadable words are imprinted on the paper.
So let's just take that with us.
You pick it up and place it in your purse.
It's not like we're tampering with evidence or anything.
The jacket is free of blood, but there is a bluish stain on one lapel. A close look and sniff at the stain makes you think that it's grape juice.
Alright. Nothing too important then.
Pippin's shirt is immaculate, except for a few streaks of blood. His tie is partially undone, which is something that never would have happened if Dr. Carter had been allowed to notice it.
You're probably right.
You hear a disturbing gurgling noise when you poke Pippin in the chest.
Maybe stop poking the corpse. Although I am making you do it, so maybe I should tell myself that.
There is a wide cut in the shirt fabric where the dagger sliced through to Pippin's chest. The cut is slightly wider than the width of the blade, as if it moved to one side after it penetrated his body.
Interesting. Speaking of the dagger...
Dr. Carter seems to have suffered a severe trauma to his chest area. You don't want to touch this dagger. It's evidence, and you don't know where it's been.
As opposed to the ankh and the notepad, those are obviously not evidence.
A close look at the dagger reveals the words, "Made in Pittsburgh," stamped on the part of the blade that is not buried in Pippin Carter's chest. To your naked eye, the rough surface of the dagger handle doesn't appear to hold any fingerprints, but that's something for the coroner to examine in detail.
It's not like we have a fingerprint lifting kit with us anyway. Anyway, that does mean that this is one of the replica daggers from the gift shop and not the real dagger. Kind of surprised that the replicas would be sharp enough to do this, unless somebody deliberately sharpened it beforehand, I guess.
Pippin has a flower in his lapel, but it looks quite innocent.
I'm sure it was the murderer.
It feels fake. A bit of water trickles out from the center of the flower.
The hell? He has a fake flower? Like a trick flower? Fake flower I can get, but like a water squirting flower? That doesn't seem like his style.
The flower is fake. It has no detectable smell. A tube runs from the back of the flower, behind the lapel, down to a squeeze bulb inside the vest. When you squeeze the bulb, a weak stream of water squirts you in the eye.
I guess he had a jolly side after all.
A red fluid appears to be leaking out of Dr. Carter's chest wound.
I'm gonna bet it's not breaking fluid.
You lightly touch the blood with your finger. It's wet. The red fluid appears to be blood. This might explain Dr. Carter's pale appearance.
Yes, it might.
Blood is coursing down the neatly buttoned tuxedo vest. The vest has a smooth, silky feel to it. Nice material.
Well, we did know he cared about the finer things.
Studying the location of the dagger wound and its proximity to the vest, it's safe to conclude that the blood on the vest is coming out of the wound on Pippin's chest.
That would seem to be the obvious conclusion, yes. Same for the blood on the pants here.
Pippin's pants are neatly pressed, but there are streaks of blood and a damp stain.
Do I want to know?
That would be highly improper, Laura.
Okay. Not what I was intending to do, but sure.
From the smell of the damp stain, it appears that Dr. Carter was quite surprised by the stabbing.
That, or you just release bodily fluids after you die. Is that a thing? I think that might be a thing.
Pippin's pants are neatly pressed, but they're...
Okay, I can't look at the streaks of blood individually.
By removing the notepad from Pippin's pocket, you have improved the appearance of his tuxedo jacket. If he was still alive, he'd certainly thank you.
But he's not, so he won't.
Dr. Carter's flesh is looking...
Alright, I think that's all. There's so much to look at that it's hard to be sure. We got the important thing anyway, which is the notepad. Maybe we should tell somebody that this guy's been murdered. And it's 8:15.
You scream like a banshee, lass. Did you kill the man then?
No, I just walked in here and found him.
I suppose that would explain your screaming then. Did you see the murderer?
No.
All right, I'll talk to you later after you've had a chance to calm down. Just don't try to leave the building.
Uh-oh, we've had our first murder. Well, technically the second one, but nobody knows about the first one yet. And with it begins Act 3. On the cutting edge.
Excellent work. Your father would be proud of you. Having already interrogated the guests, Detective O'Reilly is now discussing the murder with the staff members as they leave the party. It would be best if you don't interfere.
And now it is 10 p.m. Quite a lot of time passed. Who's that? I don't think we've seen him
Hi,
before.
Miss Bowe. I'm Ernie Leach. Dr. Carrington told me you could stay a while and talk to the staff. I've got to lock the doors, so just come and find me when you're ready to leave. Dr. C also has a key, but you don't want to bother him about that.
Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Just be careful where you go. Wolf will get upset if he finds you downstairs. See you later.
Did you manage to learn anything from your interviews, Detective O'Reilly?
Don't bother your little head about it, lass.
It's my job, sir.
This is an official murder investigation, Miss Bowe. Do not be interfering.
Oh, I don't mean to interfere. I just want to know what's going on. Any leads so far?
Dr. Carter died as the result of someone sticking a gift shop dagger in his chest. What more do you need to know?
Well, for one thing, who did it?
Someone who didn't like him, that's my guess.
Brilliant deduction.
If you think that you can do better.
I can try.
Oh, wunderbar. Now we've got the amateurs involved.
I may not be a detective, but I'm terribly clever. I've solved murders before.
Just stay out of me way, lass, and don't destroy the evidence.
Certainly not.
Yeah. Humph.
Okay. It's Act 3, we've had a murder. And I think that's a good time to continue in the next video.